It's not often that you get a peek behind the curtain to see how exactly a game was made. Luckily, today is one of those days where we do get to see how the Pacific Standard Heist was going to be, but then obviously was changed before the launch of the heist in March of 2015. As some of you might remember, the official gameplay trailer of GTA Online showed this particular clip here.
Or band together and form a crew. Then tackle a heist.
This clip is actually from the original heist, which used to be called the Ornate Bank Heist. And a fun bit of trivia as well, within the mission and the dialogue of the mission, they mention Vinewood's Maze Bank, which might allude to the fact that before the launch of GTA 5, Pacific Standard Bank was called Vinewood's Maze Bank. Or just simply Maze Bank. As for the beta heist itself, the version of the heist I'm showing off is the 1.0 version of GTA 5, which basically means the original disc version on PS3 and Xbox 360. It is believed that this version is actually even earlier than the ones that people played during December of 2013 when the whole DNS server fiasco was going on. Yes, we are definitely diving into some very juicy stuff here. And in case you're wondering, yes, more was found and I will be making videos on it, so stay tuned. In this beta version there were going to be 3 or 4 different teams, 2 gunman teams, a hacker and a getaway driver. We're going to be going over each of those in detail. As for the gunmen, what they had to do is to just simply make their way to the bank and then defend an area for about 6 minutes or so, which was about as fun as you would expect. The gunman team in the concept I really do like. I think that the idea behind it of having each of them just stand there and defend each area instead of just holding the hostage like in the original, in my opinion, is pretty much a lot cooler. However, having to do this for 6 minutes and having to complete this in order to cause the distraction or whatever the concept behind it was is something that obviously I'm happy that they ended up changing. The hacker was tasked to go to the bank as well and then make their way to the area behind the tireless line. Then you have to go up and then go past these 2 guards and then finally make your way to the terminal to then go and hack it, which is obviously different than the heist we have now, which requires you to just simply use a bit of thermite on the door. The hacks in here are obviously very familiar to the ones that you've seen within contact missions. But one notable thing about it is that the second hack is incredibly slow, and I mean like really slow. Maybe I misremember with the older contact missions, but man, I don't remember this stuff being this slow. The same thing goes for the second terminal as well, the exact same thing, the same 2 hacks, and finally you'll open the vault door and it can make your way to the actual loot, which, yes, in the footage is indeed a drug package, which most likely is just a placeholder to make sure that you can actually complete the mission. Once you have acquired the gold, it was then tasked to go to Lester's warehouse, which is obviously where the getaway driver came in, or your up an atomizer so you can hop the wall, which obviously didn't exist back then, but I thought it was a bit of a time save there, you know. The getaway driver was the only member of the team that was required to go to a different location than the bank, the location being a parking lot next to the Mission Row Police Department. You were tasked to then go to a terminal, hack into it, and then do a mini game that for some reason in terms of speed is a lot faster than the one in the bank, which I don't know, it's probably something that they were still looking into at the time of making this particular job. Once you had hacked into the terminal, you could make your way into the garage here and steal one of the 2 armored cars. Yes, I know in the footage this is just a regular shafter, just think about it as a placeholder and just imagine an armored car. When the car was acquired, you had to then lose the cops, and after losing the cops, you were then tasked to make your way to the bank where you'll be able to pick up the members of your team, that being the gunman as well as the hacker, which obviously had to loot. Now, in this version, there is not a feasible way how the gunmen were going to be done with their task by the time you arrive at the getaway car, and the hacker will be done too. So obviously in this version there was definitely some rebalancing needed, because there's no way people are going to take 6 minutes to get there. Then again, randoms do be randoms, and yeah, it wouldn't have surprised me, to be honest with you. Regardless, once you make your way to the bank, pick everyone up, and it's back to the Lester's warehouse. Ironically enough, it does mention the armored cars, which does makes me wonder if the original way of doing this heist was going to require to use something like an armored Kuruma, which would be very ironic, considering the fact in the heist version that we have now, you used to be able to use an armored Kuruma, but they patched that method out. I would argue that the Getaway driver could have been a replacement for the demolition role within the current heist. It would have made a more dynamic kind of pack standard, but I do kind of see as to why exactly Rockstar decided against it and went with the now infamous pack standard heist that is within the game. As you can clearly tell, this heist was originally surrounded about a much more cooperative experience. Everyone got their own role, and it was much more dependent on people just doing their own thing and making sure that everyone accepts and also completes that role before finishing the heist. If you look at the pack standard that we ended up getting, you can clearly see that everyone is much more able to have each other's back and basically stay within the same area and not depend as much on each other if they are not that good at shooting, for example. I think that the heist that we got now, while it is great, some ideas that they had within the original beta version of the heist definitely would have been a nice addition to the game, but I do see that from an accessibility perspective, they definitely went with the heist that we have now. And I think we can all be very happy about the fact that we didn't have to spend 6 minutes standing in a circle and killing a bunch of cops, because I'm pretty certain that if this was going to be the heist that we're going to be getting, people would absolutely burn it to the ground, because, you know, it wasn't that good. And having the Getaway being what it was by just going and driving back to Lester's warehouse, let's be honest, that felt more like a contact mission than it did an actual heist. I think that if they were to have gone with a mix of the pack standard that we have now and what we had in the beta version, I think maybe a remix version of the pack standard, maybe in the future DLC, could be something that would be cool. Heck, add it to the Los Santos tuners contracts for all I care. They are reusing old stuff in the game now anyways from single player, so why not go with a beta heist and polish it up a little bit. Jokes aside, I thought this was a really cool way of getting a peek behind the curtain what exactly was going on with the original concept of the Pacific Standard Heist. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, make sure to leave a like, subscribe for more, because there is some more of this beta stuff coming, even some unseen contact missions and so much more juicy stuff, so definitely stay tuned. And if you like what you see on the channel, become a member like Chloe and GTA Plus. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all later.